What is up, guys? Wraec is here with a new video, and today with one of the best heroes in the game. I'm of course talking about Thoran, the Fallen King. And this guy is absolutely insane. Not only is he the strongest tank in the game, he also can revive himself, can take damage for allies, and can deal a ton of damage if you use him correctly. So let's just check him out for now in Trial of Abyss. And there you can see this clear of floor 272. Thoran is in there. Usually for this stage you mostly use a nearly full Mauler team. But I tried Thoran and he did actually pretty well. You can see him dish out a few pretty big hits there. And mostly he has to compensate for my OD not having a proper weapon level. But he did so pretty well. And I want to watch there's something in there actually again with you guys. The beginning is pretty interesting because we can see his ultimate skill there. And his ultimate skill does a ton of damage. And that is what mostly did all of his damage there. There's a pretty huge hit right at the beginning. So let's check this out again. Right, give him a second. And there it is. Check this out. He gets hit a ton there and then slashes out this big hit, nuking nearly all of those enemies down to super low HP. And the reason for that is actually in his skill itself. And it is called Soul Retaliation. Retaliation not for any reason, because Thoran charges up for some time to slash at enemies in range, which is not a whole lot. His range is 1, so well, the tiles around him, dealing 200% damage, which would be bad, but now it comes, plus 180% of damage received during the charge. And as you just saw, he stood in the middle of the enemies, got hit a bunch, and then reflected basically all of that damage back to the enemies and regenerated a ton of life as well, because he also gains 20 life drain. He is also unaffected during this skill. Unaffected means immune to all control effects. So basically he will do this skill, and even if he dies, Thoran's soul will complete the slash if his skill is interrupted. Of course he can't, if he dies pretty early on, he then can't gain any more damage for his skill, and oftentimes if he's dead, the soul didn't do that great. Like the biggest hits were those where he was still alive, I think. Mostly in a situation where you had like a smoky or something behind him and he got healed, just like we just saw in this situation that we witnessed in Trial of Abyss. So that is actually quite great. Oftentimes his ultimate skill does way too much damage. It feels pretty OP. It feels pretty OP. We talked about Carolina yesterday where I said like, well, the ultimate skill is kind of decent. This one seems simple, but it feels so strong at the same time. Like the damage that you can dish out in some PvP fights, sometimes you will just get a situation where out of sheer luck, he will take a boatload of damage and then be at the top of the damage charts at the end, which is absolutely insane. Very great ultimate skill. Definitely like it. Next one, Soul Plunder. And Soul Plunder is the skill that is mostly makes him a viable PvE support. So why is that? Thoran targets a non-soul plundered enemy, so an enemy that was not hit by this skill yet, with the highest HP, drains 18% of the target's current HP to increase his max HP by the same amount. So usually if we talk about something like a boss, of course, that will be a big amount of HP. It is capped though. The drained HP limit is 600% of Thoran's attack, which is not too bad. If we check out his character stats, his attack is 149k. So if we say 150k, that times 6 is basically 900k. So a third of his HP on top of that as a buff. It's not bad. It's not bad at all. It's pretty good actually. And well, then we also make the target receive 13% more damage for the rest of the battle, which is eventually upgraded to 17%. So we actually apply a big debuff on the enemy on top of buffing our own attack. And well, draining a ton of HP, which is also not bad. And the 17% more damage received are nice to combine with like true damage heroes, which we don't really have a lot in the Graveborn faction, I reckon. So in that regard, it is a bit complicated to give him a faction bonus as well. Mostly if you use him There will be other reasons for it. There are some Dream Realm bosses where it absolutely makes sense. King Croker is the one where he's actually listed as counters insta-kill because he gives this bubble, and this is actually perfect because we now get to his next skill. This is the skill and his Mythic Plus skill that make him good for King Croker. Because Thoran will resurrect with 40% HP, restored after a short time when defeated. You can see him kneeling on the ground when he's defeated, and then after a short moment he will resurrect. His HP bar will fill up again, and if you have him at the highest level, you even gain 500 energy. So most of the time revive and go instantly into his soul retaliation, which, as we know, can deal a ton of damage. That is actually the animation for that. Thoran heard me and showed it to you guys, so pretty cool. And if you had a keen eye, you noticed that this wasn't the only resurrection that he does. There is actually another one. And we will jump over his hero focus right into the Soul Pack, which is his weapon, his exclusive equipment. This wonderful sword Hatred Blade, and with the skill Soul Pact. And before battle starts, Thoran signs a pact with the ally on the tile behind him. So wherever you set, whoever is set on the tile behind him will have this chain attached to him that we saw, agreeing to take 50% of the damage for this battle until the battle ends, which makes the ally behind him way more tanky, of course, but Thoran in a sense a bit more squishy, especially if he faces like AoE heroes that hit both of the tiles of the hero that he's chained to, and his tile, well, that will deal a ton of damage to Thoran, because 50% of the damage that the ally takes will get put on Thoran, and Thoran, well, he doesn't really have too many other survival mechanics. He doesn't reduce a lot of the damage that he takes. He doesn't have damage reduction or something in that sense. So if we take a look at those tank stats that he has, the defensive stats, well, we have some vitality, we have crit resist in here, but range def isn't too high, crit damage def isn't too high, fist def and magic def are decent. But compared to, let's compare it to Viperion, a very squishy hero, of course, he's pretty nice, but compared to a hero with very good defenses, 55k is a bit lower. So for a tank, we just compared him basically to warrior class. Well, a bit weird in that sense, so not really that tanky from stats. So something like this can become a bit of a problem most of the time. If you use it on a hero, you will feel that this certain hero is noticeably more tanky, and it is actually an advantage in that sense. So I rarely see it working out against him. And when Thoran is defeated though, this ally that he's linked to sacrifices 85% of their current HP to save and heal Thoran by 150% of this portion of HP. Which means basically Thoran gets his second revive. And that is something you will need against King Croker, because King Croker can fire up to 3 insta-kill bubbles in a fight, meaning that he will kill off exactly Thoran with the Mythic Plus revive and not a single hero more with this ability. So if you have Thoran will take all of those insta-kill bubbles against King Croker. But in the usual fight, like the one that we just saw, of course the second revive is also very nice. We just saw once he revives, he comes back to the battlefield, does another ultimate, and you can use that really to your advantage, and it will be quite nice to see him revive multiple times. It is also a bit of a disadvantage in that sense, because when he gets killed pretty early on, all the enemies will rush to the allies that are in the back row, that are further behind, and will actually ignore Thoran for the time that he's kneeling on the ground and waiting to be revived. So in that sense, a more tankier tank that doesn't revive could actually be a bit of an advantage, which is why some people prefer to use somebody like Brutus. Brutus, of course, as people often tell me, isn't a tank. I tend to describe him as such. He's a warrior though. But he fills the role of a tank. So you have to see that little difference there. While Thoran tanks, he sometimes will go down, enemies will run past him, so he doesn't completely protect your team sometimes. Then, once we upgrade his weapon, we actually get a very nice ability. The 25% of damage dealt by this ally heals Thoran when the pack exists. So then the ally becomes able to heal Thoran basically, in my opinion, negating the disadvantage of, well, Thoran taking damage for the ally. We get a bit of heal in the equation, and that makes it all very much so more survivable. So I recommend you get at least +5 on the weapon, which isn't too much of an investment, given that we can use title essence for that. So that is very, very nice. The healing amount is pretty much optional in my opinion. You can go for it, it's not really necessary. Of course, once you upgrade the weapon, you will also gain some stats from that. We can see here a bit of vitality, a bit of attack, a bit of HP. In my opinion, nice, but no must-have. So I think you are fine with +5 unless you really want to optimize the stats. So then for the hero focus, Thoran's normal attacks and skills increases energy recovery by 24%. His energy recovery is increased by an extra 6% when resurrection is not triggered. I usually just go for it. I don't think it's particularly insane, even though his ultimate, as we know, is quite good. So I wouldn't undervalue it. I think on most heroes I would say, okay, alright, we take it, it's decent. But on Thoran, I think getting his ultimate multiple times can be quite good. So it is a very nice ability. And for the last, the Enhanced Force, which we unlock on Supreme Plus, Thoran's ultimate drains another 20% of current HP from all enemies affected by Soul Blunder to increase his max HP by the same amount. And this one doesn't list a cap for that. We see a cap on the first on the Soul Blunder of 600%. It is unclear if that is also applies for this. Anyway, I must say, you rarely see him get a lot of ultimate skills, so I don't think it is quite as OP as it seems on the first look, because, well, with those 20%, of course, he could increase his HP by a massive amount. But I don't see him do too many ultimate skills, and in most boss fights, he will live anyway. At least if you have him on a sufficient level, he will live anyway. So I don't really see the bigger appeal of this last Supreme Plus ability. I wouldn't say it's weak. I would say it's probably mid to decent. So not really a must-have. In regard to how far you want to upgrade him, this is of course Legendary Plus. I think it's okay. It's not really a must-have. Mythic Plus I think is a must-have though, because that is his second revive. That gives you the link ability. That gives you the heal from the ally. A lot of his functionality is in Soul Pact, is in this ability. And then we have the Enhanced Force, which I don't think is too important, but you might want to have the stats for your tank, because he isn't too super tanky. Even though he is a tank, of course, his stats are not geared towards surviving super long. Like he doesn't have an obscene amount of Fistef or MDef. Given that, I think he is a great hero though. I recommend you get him. Weapon +5 should be one of the tank that you go for. And in any way, I would say we hop into PvP and we try to build a team around him. And I have something in mind that I actually want to try. We will see how that works out. Not going to take Enforcer. What do we have here? Oh, Thoran against Thoran. Let's do that. Let's do that. I kind of want to build a bit of a meme team. Not really sure how exactly we are going to do that. So what I'm thinking is we include Scalita. We link Scalita. And probably keep it like that, honestly. And then we use movement heroes. I kind of thought about using Igor, but the problem with Igor is my Igor is a bit weak. So I'm not sure if that is going to go well, because he's just legendary. But I think for the meme we are going to do it. For the meme we are going to do it, and then we're going to include Temesia. And this is basically our team now. And I have no idea if that's going to work well, because, well, those three will be all over the place, while Scalita will be in the air. So essentially, this is the only hero. Thoran will be the only hero that's probably straight lines to the enemy. Another option would have, of course, been to go with Heroine, which would be interesting. But we'll see how that works out. I just wanna see the madness of this meme team here. And we have Scalita in the air, which is quite funny. Yeah, probably wasn't the best idea to go with that Igor. I think we get a little bit destroyed. Maybe decent way to show off Thoran, but Yeah, we got a little bit destroyed on that one, which makes sense considering we used Igor. At least we got a big damage number out of that Thoran, so that was decent. Maybe we give it another try and remove that Igor because, well, it didn't do too well for us. Didn't do too well for us. Okay, now we have to set up this team again. Scalita, I think, is all right. I think we can go Temesia Reese, I guess, and then we kind of need a faction bonus. Well, we of course have multiple options now. We can go Gravebone, we can go Mauler, or we can go Lightbearer, which, I mean, Lightbearer can kind of go with Vala, right? It's also moving, it's also kind of a bit annoying. I also would think a healer would be great, but I'm not entirely sure if we really want to do that. Maybe with a Roan could work out with a Roan, but it would have nothing to heal. Now I think, I think we go with the Vala. Yeah, let's do the Vala and let's see if that works out. Is a bit of a weird team. I guess Vala moves, so is a bit interesting. Let's see if that does us any good. For now, our Thoran is stunned in the middle. We got a good kill there with the Scalita. Scalita doing most of the work there. Okay, we'll see. I mean, it worked out. It's just that this Thoran just touched our Thoran's active skill right in the revive animation. So yeah, that was a bit bad. But we got a win, so that's something. And yeah, this time around Thoran really didn't get hit and Scalita had to do all of the work. So I guess we couldn't show him from his brightest side. But in the beginning of the fight that you guys saw, I think that showed it quite well. I'm very happy that I got Thoran early on. Was a great choice in my opinion. Weapon +5, I'm happy with that, and I think you should go to at least Mythic Plus, so keep that in mind. In any way, do you use Thoran, or did you go for like another tank? We also have other tanks, we have Granny for example. Let me know down in the comments below, and with that, I wish you a great day, make sure you subscribe to the channel, and we'll see us in the next one.